Okay, so hi everybody. Um, I have been chomping at, oh, I see I've got white. I am doing some acrylic, and what I did was I had been gessoing watercolor paper because watercolor paper, the cheaper stuff that I own, I think I've talked earlier about I have a lot of cellulose watercolor paper. I don't use cellulose for my watercolor work that I do, but I have purchased cellulose paper, which makes a fantastic background for painting with acrylics and other mixed media. So what I do is I will gesso a lot of the cellulose watercolor paper, the 140 pound or what is it, 300 GSM, and it's perfect for mixed media. So because I do mixed media, you know what? It's canvas isn't always the go-to. It's really nice to work on a nice heavy paper. So I also have an illustration board and whatever. But anyway, that's not what this is going to be about. Today we're going to geek. We're going to geek over. So the thing is, this is how it's going to go. I decided that I'm here, I play, I just pull out my watercolor paints and I will geek out myself. I haven't been painting for a little while because I was on my textiles. I had just finished doing a show which was focused more on my textiles, and I get to the point where I get really antsy to paint. I love to paint. I really do. I really love to paint, and it's in my blood. And watercolor, of course, just like blood, is watery and it's water based, and it's in my blood. And I love watercolor, and I've been chomping at the bit just to play with watercolor. So, although I have a large and long list of projects that I want to do in watercolor, what I usually do if I've had a little bit of a hiatus from it is I will just get out paints and I will play. So the last video I had, I was playing with the darks and just playing with different blacks and and showing how you can create your own blacks. But I didn't really go the whole route. I was just kind of geeking out on what I had at the time and working with the darks. So you remember that? I don't know if you remember. This is the flip side where I was working with some of the darks. I didn't really do um, as many as I wanted to, but we were getting over the time. Anyway, this is a flip side. And typically what happens, what I do is when I get new paints, this isn't what I do. This is generally what I do. I will make swatches. So this here is every paint that I own, every tube paint that I own. I have some swatches for the pan paints that I've purchased over the years, but I keep them with the palette. But these are all the tubes that I own, and I haven't updated it for a while. So that's how I would typically would do it. Was I have all the yellows or I kind of try to categorize it, all the blues together. These are all the blues that I own. And actually, that has now increased because I have been purchasing um, some Holbein, and that's what this today is going to be about. But anyway, these are really great. I do a real simple. What I forgot to do on these though was put the black line. This has been quite a while since I've done these, so it's really going to be fun. Is I will have an excuse to do it again. I know this is going to be time consuming, but what better way to do is pick a rainy day and make these strips again, almost like paint strips, that you get at the store. But I will put the black line across, and that will help me. I got that upside down. And I actually go to these quite a bit at times, just depends. Um, and I will go like, I mean, the colors I use a lot of, I already know. what their characteristics are, whether they're transparent, opaque, and that sort of thing. But when you start getting into convenience colors and things like that, then, and or multiple pigment paints, like I typically see, you see most of these. This one, Queen Gold, actually, the Winsor Newton has 3 different pigments in it. That's typically hard to mix any other paint with that, without it turning to mud or neutral, which is okay. However, if you want to create something bright and bold out of that, you're probably not going to be that successful because you've already got a red, a violet, and a yellow already. So the only thing that will work really well with this is blue, because you got a red, you got a yellow, and you do have a violet, which is a blue and a red. But if you work with a blue with this one here, then you'll get a really beautiful green. So that you'll see me talking. I love talking about pigments, and I just love talking about pigments. But for me, it's very important, because once upon a time, I kind of got caught up in, I would take classes or whatever, and the teacher of the time would say, no, you need this color, this color, this color. And it may, so for instance, Van Dyke Brown and Burnt Umber, they're both the exact same pigment. They're brown, so they're a BR7, right? I think that's what it is. Do I have that here actually? Burnt Umber, it doesn't say anything here. Why didn't I write it down? I don't know. Why didn't you write it down? But anywho, these were a long time ago, and I forgot to put the black stripe through them, and I'm going to do that again. But anytime, this Kohlrabi, oh, metallic watercolor, and this is the Daniel Smith Extra Fine. You can see even the sheen in the camera here. But anywho, these were recent Holbein purchases, I believe. I don't know how early or how old these are, because I think these were purchases that I made. That's a Daniel Smith. That's a Holbein that I've made prior to my recent ones. And so the reason I say, so anyway, this is a really good thing. It's really, swatches are so good. I typically will try to do a full pigment and then, mid and a light, right? Like water it right out. And it really shows me a really nice blend of the 3. You'll get some artists that will go really strong to light. I like the idea of going strong to light. You'll see some that will go light to strong. For me, it's almost like, okay, are you left-handed or are you right-handed? It's whatever works for you. For me, it's easier for me when I open up a tube and I animate my palette, and it's going to be strong. When I first put my brush in, it's going to be very strong. Unless I put it over into a palette and I add water, then that's going to get watered down. Or of course, if I add the water to my brush. So for me, it's easier to start out strong and then dilute it to go to that value range that I like to see. You'll see others that will do it the opposite way. And I think one of those people are Jane Blundell, who I deeply respect. And you will see me, or you will hear me reference her many times, because I'm telling you, that gal, I think she's Australian, but she has tested every color in the world, every watercolor, every pigment she's tested. I respect her opinion. I don't always agree with her choices, only because her choices are her choices. So she lives in Australia. They got a different climate. The landscapes are different, that sort of thing. Atmospheric is different. Colors might look different in Australia. Here in Canada, my choice of color for my landscapes are going to be different than hers. So my palette will be different than hers. Does that make sense? I hope. Anyway, oh, this is just prompt pages. These are prompt pages I've written down. So that's another thing I just did with that. So anyway, what I decided to do is make the black lines and talk a little bit about what I've done. So the last time I was playing with colors, I was telling you, I think in that a couple of the colors that I think I even tested at the time were Holbein, and I purchased them in Petrolia, Ontario. There's a fabulous little store there. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a plug. It's called Arts Den. They've been working very hard to try to establish themselves as a go-to place for art supplies for that area and beyond. So they are a rural, or what you would call a country. Excuse me, getting a drink of water here. Sometimes I get so dry. So you're typically in the cities, you have your Michaels. Actually, that's all we have in Sarnia now, and most of the cities are, these big box places. And unfortunately, we've been seeing a decline of fine arts stores here in Ontario, which is very sad. Anyway, so Arts Den themselves, they've been establishing themselves as a go-to art place. I do classes there. They hire me to do classes. So I'm definitely going to give them some hoots. But my point is that they are a brick and mortar small business who are working hard to try and do the very best they can for local artisans. So they're in Petrolia, so they're kind of like a little hub within a big radius of small farming communities and small towns. And mind you, they're only 15 minutes away from Sarnia. They're about 15, 20 minutes away from a forest, a Watford or Kona, Wallaceburg is maybe 20 minutes away. So for those of you that are outside of that realm and are, maybe watching in from a different place altogether, or country or what have you, you won't even, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry yourself over that. But so what I want to do, oh yeah, so my whole point, sorry about that, is I get off on tangents. And for those of you that know me and that come and frequent my videos, hi, I love you and welcome back. And but for those of you who do not know me, I'm a little bit of a pigment geek. Oh my God, I love watercolor. I was introduced to watercolor in 1980. Yep, I'm dating myself. 1980. And if you go to past videos, I talk about that. So if you want to find out the story, you go to it. But anyway, watercolor was the very first wet media that I was introduced to. I I went into the room first and I fell in love at first sight, and I couldn't even look at acrylic or oils because they to me looked heavy, and almost, yeah, they just looked heavy and overbearing. When I had gone into this room and I saw this woman painting with the watercolor with these beautiful pigments and water, and she was doing these expressive abstract, well, I don't know if they were abstract, but they were representational landscapes. And but I knew as the moment I looked at them what it was I was looking at. Anyway, I fell in love and I thought, this is just amazing, and I haven't looked back. So yes, and I've taken many classes over the years. You think that I should be calling myself a master? No, I don't. I don't believe it, and I don't believe that anybody that out there that calls himself a master is one in the totalitarian. Does that make, is that a word, of the world of watercolor? They are a master in their style. They are a master of the pigments that they've chosen and the paper that they use. And I tell my students that all the time. When you're using and you're consistent with your paper, which, you work with the best, you get the best, right? And you're working with, and your tools, which are your brushes. Are you working with naturals? Are you working with synthetics? That sort of thing. Then you can get to that place where you can call yourself a master. However, for creation purposes, for just the sheer joy of painting with watercolors. Not to say the masters don't get joy out of it, but they look at it a little bit more seriously, masters. I mean, I understand that because I've been painting with them for years. I've done portraits, I've done landscapes, I've done a myriad of watercolors. I don't get caught. I did get caught up into the stuffiness of it in the fine arts. And I think that for me, because I'm such an ADD style person, I'm just moving some things here. So I got foot rests here. Anyway, so for myself, it works best that I use it as a prompt for many forms of art. And I do serious paintings for sure. I do. And I sell them. And when I do, I use nothing but the best. I will use top-notch pigments. I will use top-notch paper, which is arches. Arches. Sorry. I decided that I wanted to eat some peanuts. Like, why would I do that when I'm going to do a video? See, the thing is I'm going to do this anyway. So I decided to put the video on and maybe somebody will have some fun. And so typically if I'm sitting here, this is what I do. I'll pull out some peanuts. So anyway, and I don't normally talk to myself when I'm doing my own thing. So the last time I did, I was just chewing and I had to swallow. That's why there was a gap. I know I sound weird, don't I? It's okay. I embrace my weirdness. So here was the last time I talked to you. I had gone out anyway with Arts Den, as I was saying. They're a great little store. What they did though is they do visit other art stores to see how they can improve, what they can improve upon, and provide for their customers and that sort of thing. And they had run into a store or an art store that was actually closing, and they purchased a lot of their products in bulk. So part of that was a big box of Holbein. And I know in the last video I did, I was talking about, Holbein. And I think I was calling it Holbein, but I most often call it Holbein. Doesn't matter. I'm going to call it Holbein. But they had a big box of Holbeins, and I went over to look at it thinking, oh my God, you got like fine art, artist quality Holbein here for $6.95 a tube? Well, see, this is how awesome they are. They bought the lot for a certain amount. They looked at what they had and they decided we're not going to be silly about it. We're just going to put a single price on it and sell it as is. Well, for $6.95 a tube, are you kidding me? This leaf green, Holbein leaf green, which has been in my palette for years because I absolutely love the color. Most people who know me, I do not talk about convenience greens very much because I typically like to make my own. The only green that I've ever had in my palette is Viridian. And I love Viridian. I think another name for it is phthalo green, permanent green, emerald green. But when you look at the pigment is, I don't know if I can even show it to you on here. See if I can do this. PG7. I wanted to show that PG7. Now, Holbein is different than the Daniel Smith's Viridian and Winsor Newton. So I am a Daniel Smith. So this is what I've got left of my Daniel Smith tubes. I am a Winsor Newton snob as well. This is actually Cotman. The Cotman and Grumbacher, which are student grade, I use for my classes because I include the paints. and I was using my high-end artist grade, and some of the students just who don't get it literally were costing me a small fortune in pigments. So I decided that if I was going to make any money as a watercolor teacher, which I didn't charge much for anyway, I'm probably best to use the Cotman and the Grumbacher. So both Cotman and Grumbacher, I highly recommend for student. They are the highest quality student grade paints out there. I have tried a lot of them, and the Cotman is the Winsor Newton, of course, but they're phenomenal. And any paint manufacturer, any pigment manufacturer that actually gives you the exact pigment, the light fastness, the transparency or non-transparency on the label, more information they give you on the label, the better the quality of the product. That's who you want to buy from. Those who are, I'm going to use a pun here, transparent about their product. But this is my Winsor Newton. These are the tubes I have left. Oopsie, I just dumped it all. But like, I mean, I was buying these back in the day. I was doing big pictures. And this back in the day, oh my God, this is Winsor Violet. That's one of the tubes that will take forever to use. Seriously, I don't know what I was thinking, but the price was right for sure. I have a couple of the big ones, you know, the big. This one here is the Winsor Blue Green shade. This one here is the red shade, right? Obviously, the green is the cool. I was using that more. What other big ones do I have in here? Yeah, right. Cadmium Orange, oh, one of my favorites, but obviously not that much of a favorite. But Queen Gold, oh my God, look at the difference, right? I love Queen Gold so much. Anywho, I digress. Winsor, this fell out my bag, so I'm gonna have to make sure I get all the Windsors out of the way so we can progress forward. Anyway, that's just my tubes. I do have palettes that I've purchased over the years as well. Oh, and I have pans, like full pans that I purchased, White Knights, which is a Russian brand. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. The palette I have is, I think it's 618. It might be an 18. They're all over there. I'm not going to pull all that out. That could be a day where I could just geek out and share what I own. Not that it's a contest of who owns more pigments. It has nothing to do with that. Mission Gold is another one. I have a few videos. So if you check through my videos, you'll see that I've done some, you know, some videos where I've purchased some Mission Gold and Core, QOR, which is Golden's version of watercolor. Core, Mission Gold, White Knights, of course, and I really like the White Knights. They are from Russia, and they are the Masters palette. So so that's where I was kind of following for years because I really wanted to move into landscapes. And John Turner is one of my favorite, one of my heroes as a painter. They call him the Master of Light. But anyway, that's that. So now that I've rambled on, so the last time I was out there, I bought 10 tubes, right? So 10 tubes of Holbein out at Arts Den at $6.95, which was $70 plus tax, which I don't think was a whole lot of tax. Now, the problem with that is I didn't write down what I've already purchased. And I put some aside, and they said, oh, I'll be back again. And I forgot, but I went out there this week, or just this past Saturday, and I went out and I went through the whole bin. I actually even organized their bin for them too. I put all the blues together, all the greens together, all the yellows. And I actually said to the lady, do you have some containers? Like, I think that if you categorize these by their colors, it would be a lot easier. So literally this big bin they had, oh, I don't know, it was like this, like this, and probably about that high. which was full of these, and I literally put them all in their color categories. I love that though. I was kind of geeking out of it. So anyway, but the downside to this is I should have wrote down what I already had. So in the first haul, I had Viridian bamboo green, because I don't have convenience greens as a rule. I've always made my own greens. However, with some of the Daniel Smiths, I have purchased, well, I think that's a Windsor. I got Windsor Newtons in my Daniel Smith. And that's probably because I was doing convenience greens last time. Olive green and Hooker's green, which is so weird because I think this was gifted to me because I was not it's not a Hooker's green fan. So I'm not sure if that was gifted to me by my beautiful Francoise Ricard McKenna. That's another story. But I love the sap green and Viridian, of course. And so I didn't really get into the convenience greens very much. Daniel Smith, however, had a couple Perylene green, which weirdly or oddly enough, it's a black. It's a BK31. So it's not a PG, it's a PBK, which is so bizarre. Why would you call a green a black? But it's like when you look at a crow, it's a red, black, a blue, black, a brown, black, a green, black. And so that's, I believe, the spectrum that they've gone there. Anyway, but recently, in the last few years, I have been picking up some convenience greens. And what broke the ice for me, though, was probably a handful of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I did in my local group, the SAW group, Sarnia Artist Workshop. We had, and I said this last time, I forget her name, but she uses leaf green a lot. And I saw that color and I went, oh my God, I love that green. So I got it into my palette and I've been using it. I've been using it quite a bit. So leaf green, and it was from Holbein at that time too. I don't know what they would call it in the others. However, the pigment is PY154. And guess what else? What green? PG7. What's PG7? Viridian. So it's this bright, cool, leafy green I absolutely adore. And then anyway, so I picked that up last time. I went, oh my God, leaf green. Like this is that tube that I've got here. The Holbein leaf green that I bought a few years back. This one here, this leaf green, this was $38 for this. I think this is a 15 milliliter. Yeah, $38 for that too. Well, I went through a lot of it. So retail of this here, I believe, the 5 milliliter in leaf green online is runs about $24. You could look it up. Depends on who's selling it. I got it for $6.95, folks. Okay. So now you know why I was like, start the car, and why I've invested in many more of these. So I went back and I got some more. But the downside is I didn't write them down, which I know I'm repeating myself, but I did some duplication. I got another Viridian and I got another bamboo green. So I've got 2 bamboo greens, 2 Viridians. Oh, but this time I picked up a Viridian hue, which it does say that it's PG7, but a hue typically is synthetic and it has other synthetics in it. And although most of our paints now, even the oxides are synthetic now, unfortunately, they may be like this Viridian hue. I can't wait to try it because even when you look at the strip here, you can see that this one here is more vibrant than this one. So we're going to play with that. So there's 2 Viridians, 2 bamboo greens. Oh, excuse me. I think I even got another shadow green. Did I? Or I did and I put it back, which would which was smart of me. Because the shadow green was another new one that I got. So I'm going to put a duplicate over here. I don't need those. And I got a manganese blue. Do you know how expensive manganese is? If you don't, you know now. And so I also got another leaf green, but like I said, I love it so much. That was so well worth it. So some of the colors, permanent magenta, I think. No, I didn't duplicate that. Oh, that's smart. Okay, so rose violet, permanent magenta. I got Scarlet Lake, which is a really nice warm red. So I'm going to put those convenience greens aside. And this time I got Prussian blue. Of course, those who know me know how much I love Prussian blue. And I thought this was interesting. Royal blue, I've never heard of it. And of course, manganese blue I use a lot of. And this one here I use a lot of too. It's actually empty on my one palette that I use, peacock blue. It's a very bright and a very cool, very bold, vibrant. And I think it's a PV. Well, of course, it's going to be PV 15. Let me see. Yeah. But it'll have the Viridian green in it. Let me have a look here. Yes. PG 7, PB 15. So, and that makes your peacock blue. Now, knowing that, you could get I could use my Viridian and I could use my phthalo blue and mix a peacock blue. That's what a convenience color is. Whereas they just take those pigments and mix them for you. So I'm going mineral violet. I got rose violet, permanent magenta, mineral violet. I'm going to put the violet with that. Light red. I use that quite a bit. So that was really nice to get some more. And of course, yellow ochre. Greenish yellow was new, but I'm thinking it's probably not going to be that far off from the leaf green. Let's see what the pigment is on this one. Oh, it's just a yellow. PY117. Okay, so these are pigments. It's a pure pigment, single pigment. And those who know me know I love single pigments because that gives me so many options for color mixing. When you've only got one or you're working with a single pigment mineral or color, you have got a myriad, like 1,000 different colors you can make out of that. So like, look at all the greens I've got. So I've got, shadow green. I'm going to put that at the bottom because that's the darkest. Viridian, sap green. Oh, bamboo green is going to be the next darkest in value scale, right? So, but I have that Viridian hue and Viridian. So I'll go Viridian and then Viridian hue. And I believe the leaf green might be lighter than the greenish yellow. So, and then of course I've got cadmium yellow deep, which is a very popular color that I also use. Naples yellow. I love Naples. This one looks very bright. Yellow ochre, we'll keep that with the yellows. Cadmium red orange. Who doesn't love the cads? Cadmium they're all fantastic. So of course, the blues, we've got the royal blue, which when you look at this here, look at how dark that is. So we're going to have a look at that. And Prussian blue, of course, indigo, another one of my absolutely favorite colors to use. So we're going to use, so we'll put it in this grouping here. So we've got our reds, our yellows, which surprisingly, not very many this time. It's that haul, but look at all the reds I picked up. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got, oh, wait. Mars yellow. That was the other one that I thought was interesting. So 4 yellows. Of course, indigo and neutral. Neutral tint, I think I used on my last video. I love neutral tints. I use that instead of blacks. Indigos, I love using these for my silhouette or, whenever I'm doing, a value scale of sorts, I will use either indigo or I will use a neutral. And anyway, so now there's the blues. So it looks like I've got, the color wheel of a sort. And So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh, so that is these here, all of these here, right here. If I even average that out to $20 a tube, that's $460 worth of paint. Yeah, right? That's just averaging it out because some are worth more than others. Some are $17 tubes, depending on what it is. If like Viridian, I think is $20. But when you're getting into Peacock Blue, what other one? You're getting into 24 and whatever dollars. But if you go, what was it, 23? So at the price, I don't know if I paid taxes or not, but we're talking $460. Did I say 23 times 2? If it was $20 on average, $460 worth of paint. I got them for $159.85, right? Yeah. Well, we're talking over $300, right, in savings. And I will have these for a long time. And that's just Canada, folks, okay? All right. There's the greens. There's the yellow. There's the red. And there's the blues. And the neutrals. Nope, that's the blues. What did I do with those neutrals? I'm going to put them aside. Okay. So now that I'm probably yattered on for like a half an hour or more, now we're going to get down to actual painting. I'm just going to use my number 8 Stratford, New York. I love this paintbrush. Here I've got the Arches Rough, like what I used last time, just to show you how each one will play out on the paper. This is cellulose. Everybody knows my thoughts about cellulose. So what I like to do is I will take the color and I like to do like full pigment. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit on the palettes. I'm going to try not to do too much though, because it really is a waste. But at $6.95, I think I could let loose a little bit, right? So I might have put a little bit too much water into this because I have to remember I am using a natural hair, which holds more water. So right here, you see how I did pencil lines and then I did black? So that black will be right in the middle. So full on. So now what I'm going to do, so I talk a lot about water consistency. We have, typically you will never go anymore. Butter is basically right out of the tube. Butter in our house is fairly soft, but it's not tube soft. But I would say that out of the tube would be butter. A touch of water would be, a little bit of water would be a cream consistency. That's what I believe that to be. It's more of a cream consistency. And then we add a little bit of water to that, and that would become more of we will use a cream, a milk to a tea consistency. So now I'm just going to add some more water here. And more water again. So I will bring that all the way down and see how that plays out. See that? Okay, so the next color is that yellowish, greenish yellow. And that's a single pigment, so that's why I was interested in it. So see how that goes with full pigment. Oh, I can see right away it's darker. Do you know what this looks like? Green gold. This looks just like green gold. Yeah. So I'm going to have to look at the label of my Winsor Newton green gold. Get rid of that and bring this all the way down. I'm going to try not to go right to the edge because I really don't want to have the colors bleed into one another. So what I'll do then, I think that's cellulose. So you can see how much work I have to do when I'm working with the cellulose. So what I'm going to do here, just going to come out with that. I'm going to do the other color so that gives that a bit of time to dry before I go into the next column. So now we're going to go to Arches cold press and then Arches rough. So you see how they will all play out. Isn't this fun? For those who get it, get it. They'll get it. All right, so I'm coming in strong pigment here. This will be the cream consistency. I'm not coming in with the butter. Right, so this, ooh, wrong side. I need to do this side here. And then I'm going to come over here because, oh, see that? It's almost dry, eh? Look at the way it laid down compared to how it laid down here. See that? I came in full pigment there. Now look at how blotchy it is. That's cellulose. Okay, look at this. This is Arches. And that's exactly how your paint is supposed to come out. All right, so now let's water this baby down. So here we go. Oh, yeah. So we're making this now. We're going to turn this into, well, that was a, what did I say? Cream. That was cream up there. Now this is milk. Clean that out. Well, coffee, I would say. And then this is tea. Tea is like just slight. Eh? It's very, very light. So you can see that this here up here is covered. So that would be cast as an opaque. Well, I can see the black line in there, but when I see this here, you see it. Oh, look what I did here. What a goof. What did I do there? It's supposed to have been on this side. Ah, what a silly. I messed that up. But this is totally a green gold for sure. Yeah, totally. So here we go. When we wash it right out, we bring it right down to, there's the coffee. And there's the tea right down to the bottom of it, right? And that's beautiful. Okay, so now let's go to the leaf green. Full on. We know what that was like for the cellulose. So now let's go. So also to here, it's a semi, right? You can see where, well, if you do it yourself, it'll translate differently for sure. Because when I'm looking at it right now, I see a film over that black. I can see the black line still, of course. But I would say that it's a semi-opaque. Opaque is where it covers it up completely. So I'm going to come in now. And go with the coffee. And then tea. Okay. I'm going to come in with the coffee. Oop, forgot to add water. There's the coffee. And then tea. Oh my gosh, aren't these pretty? Aren't these amazing colors? Okay, let's continue on with the green family. Yeah. Oh, so now it's Viridian Hue. So, so that's Viridian Hue. Even though on the label, it does say pigment EG7. I'm going to go in, make that the cream consistency. I'm just going to add enough water where I can do that. Yeah. So the thing is when you're mixing it from a tube and from your palette and you want to get that cream consistency, you don't smash your brush right in. You go to the side, and I think I showed that in that other video where you actually come to the side of the paint and slowly blend that in, because otherwise full pigment will get stuck up into your brushes, and it will be inconsistent. So there we go there. Here we go here. And here we go on to the rough. Okay, so this is cream consistency. Clean out my brush. Go into the clean water. Tap off. Let's make coffee. Yeah, I mean, the thing is you got to work harder, obviously. Okay, let's do it here. And then tea. Okay, so here, that, make coffee now. It's also permanent, right? So you're going to, if you don't get at it, you're going to see how it will embed itself into the little pockets of the paper, right? So, and it stays there. So what I mean by pockets, what a lot of people don't realize is, what I don't know if they've ever remember being taught it, but if we looked at this on the side under a microscope, this here cold press and cold press would probably, the surface would probably look like this. Oh, I better do it with a black marker just so you can see better. That a little too fine. So if we looked at the surface of this under a microscope, you'd probably be like this. Okay, that would be a cold press, right? The surface of it, little pockets. The paint goes on. We lay the paint down. Oh, it'd be nice to get a free flowing paint, something that plays nice. So you'll probably, you put your paint on and it will just sit across like that. I hope that makes sense to you. All right. And then with the rough, the surface is more like this. Although it probably would be more patterned, because a lot of times when they make these papers, they do have like a where they compress them together. It would be a lot of them are done with felt, believe it or not. So, but when you lay your color down, color is going to come, you know, right? You got the water settles, and the pigment settles. So where's the pigment going to settle? Down in here, down in here, down in here. See where all those little wells are? Down in there, down in there, down in there, down in there. Okay. That's where they're going to settle. And when you have a lot of these high pigmented, which are typically your phthalos, or they call them the staining, well, that's what's happening, is that they're embedding down into those little pockets, and that's where they stay. Whereas here, and it's not as easy to pick up and blend them once they've settled in the pockets. Whereas with the cold press, it's easy because it's right at the surface, right? Right at the surface where the water is. That's just a real quick. Oh, and that's another really cool little tip I should tell you about. That's how I check my values when I'm working with an actual photo reference. Anywho, so that's the Viridian. Look at how beautiful, how vibrant. It's just, yeah. But I love, you know, Viridian makes also the best blacks, right? It makes some really, really nice blacks. Okay. You heard it here. Well, that one actually was the Viridian hue. Okay, so this will be good. So the next one's actually going to be Viridian. Same pigment PG. Oh, so this one actually. Oh, this is PG 7, 18. Okay, well, pure Viridian is just PG 7. But so they're saying that they've used PG 7 and PG 18. So let's check it out. So this tube had a little bit of the binder squeeze out ahead of time. So Holbein, I believe, uses honey as a binder. So yeah, you can tell it is too because of the way it's mixing. So anyway, that's okay. It's all good. I'm going to mix. I'm breaking this down. I've only added a little bit of water, and I'm actually breaking it down so I come out with a pure pigment. So this one is actually almost a little gummy coming out of the tube. So I don't know if it's just this batch or if it means anything at all. So here we go. There's the two pigments full on. This is Viridian. Holbein's Viridian. Full on out of the tube with just a tad of water, so cream consistency. Okay. Now I'm going to come in, make it coffee. So you can see on the cellulose, it's really unpredictable. I'm going to continue and just finish this out. I'm going to grab some more pigment because obviously it didn't stay. Doesn't, it's just inconsistent. So I can work with it though. I can, and I'm not discouraging anybody from this because you can work with it. But I'm just saying how it handles when you lay the pigment down is obvious. See how it just blobs and sits on the surface. Well, that's because cellulose does not behave the same way. So that's wood pulp versus 100% cotton. 100% cotton being 100% absorbable. As soon as I'm adding my liquid to this. So also I told you that Viridian is staining, right? If you remember what I said there. So we don't want it to dry too quickly because there'll be a hard line, right? So this one here, I'm going to make, let's see, look at the big glob of Viridian there. But that's okay, we'll work it out. I'll bring this back in. So that is the coffee. And we'll do tea. So it is staining. I'm actually easy to work this down. But you see how much heavier this one is? I didn't put any more. If anything, I'm pulling up some color there. Pulled up some color. But there you go. I know it's shiny in the light. So amazing, amazing, amazing. That will shift a bit. The colors will shift once they dry. Okay, so that was the Viridians. Do you see much of a difference between the two? Not really. Although this one is pure pigment. It is a PY117, I believe that was. No, it was 2, wasn't it? Yeah, PG7, 18. And this Viridian hue was just PG7. Yeah. Okay. So now what we're going to move on to is sap green. Hmm. Love sap green. I love this green. I do. I use this a lot in my foliage. So here we are. Hold on. Hold on. So this is obviously wet onto dry. And you can see it was full on because when I applied it to here, it went on dry. So now we're going to do coffee consistency. Oop, it's bleeding there. But anyway, this is just to give you an idea. And into right out to tea. Pretty though. Let's see what that comes up with. There's your cellulose, not bled together. Try to be a little bit. So you have to work a little bit harder on the cellulose. Its absorption is what's the word I'm looking for? It's uneven. And you have to work, like I said, it's a little bit more work. So I had it bleed in here too on this one as well. So I should have left it a little bit, but that's okay. I'll just try not to. I'll try not to get so close to that. Look at that sap green. Isn't that beautiful? It's a nice warm green, obviously, because it's yellow. So beautiful. There's your tea. Isn't that lovely? Look at all that. Just goes. So I'm going to move these up. I'm going to move these out of the way because we've used those. Those I'm going to put over here because I don't know if we are going to use those. So I'm going to put the yellow here. Reds up here. And the blues. That way I can move this over a bit. Okay. So next is bamboo and shadow. Okay, so we got a little bit of the, squeeze that out. A little bit of the binder squeezing out ahead of that. That over there. Okay. So now we've got bamboo green. Yeah. So darker. And you know, if I take a look at the pigment on this, let's see. This is PG 36. So I'm wondering if I think this bamboo green is just another name for phthalo. Because for me, I thought though that phthalo green was, it's a PG 36. Not phthalo green was PG. I can't remember now. It's a cool green though. PG. I believe it's probably a phthalo. Yeah, it's totally a phthalo green. Look at how bright that is. Okay. Let's see. Right out of the tube. It's a little bit of water. That is cream. Heavy cream. Oops. Didn't want to go into that other line. Okay, then we get into the T. Beautiful, beautiful, rich green. So you can definitely see the pros and the cons of using. Oop, I got a little bit of from this here, got onto there. All right. Let's fix that up. There we go. Okay, rough. That was movable. Thought maybe it might be a bit staining and I wouldn't be able to. I totally screwed this up. I should be between the black lines. Okay, so let's go over. That's because I did it there and I didn't finish and I screwed everything else up. Oh, well. All right, so let's go back here. Let's try to get this train back on track. Although I'm going to be missing one. There's tea consistency. So that is bamboo. Next is going to be the shadow green. Fun stuff. Okay, so shadow green. Get that worked down to cream consistency. Ooh, this was this the one that I said was black? Yep, completely opaque. All right. Yeah. That's a Paroline green. That's a Daniel Smith Paroline green. Say it right now. That's a Paroline green. So Paroline green is going to be the same pigment, the shadow green in Holbein. I can see it right now. Okay, I'm going to look it up. Daniel Smith. See if I can find my Paroline green. Well, let me finish this out first before it dries. I don't want to. So that's awesome. Well, so you can see there's duplication then. And so this is why good to know your pigment. And I didn't know this, right? So I didn't know. And what was shadow green? Where'd the tube go? Okay, I'm patting Patty on the back. They are both PBK, which is black, 31. And did I say Paroline green? Yes, I did. So good job, Patty. However, I don't have all my pigments memorized in my mind. And so I duplicated. But we just found out that PBK 31 is shadow green in Holbein and Paroline green in Daniel Smith. And it probably, the Paroline green might stretch across a couple other manufacturers as well. Now, see how I don't like this. I don't like that. That should not have worked this way. It's uneven coating, you know what I mean? So I have to work it and work it and work it so that I can get an even blending. So you can see how erratic that is. Whereas this has got a really nice transition, right? Of course, you know, it's nice enough but for how quickly I'm doing it, there should be a really nice, like I have with both of these. Okay, so that's the greens. The greens are done. So next, I have 4 yellows. So what do I got here? 1, 2, 3. That's okay. We'll work it out. So let's go to the brightest, which is Naples on this Holbein. Oh, ah, like a Naples. It's going to be opaque. I feel it. It looks like it too. So Naples yellow. Yeah, so this one I think has a few pigments. Okay, so 2 yellows, PY37, PY42, but guess what's in it? PW6. So white 6, which I believe is Chinese white. Let me look at my, do I have my thing up? No, I don't. Okay, but anyway, I believe that it's probably either titanium white or Chinese white. Yeah, maybe Chinese white is PW7. Titanium, I think, is PW6 because that's the most popular white. So it's probably that. I'll have to look it up. Okay, so I'm going to transition to yellow now. So let me change my water. Keep your dirty water clean, or you know what I mean. Change out your dirty water so you don't uh, dirty up your pigment. You know, especially when you're doing comparisons. Keep your clean water clean. Okay. All right, now. Okay. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll start down here, but no, it's okay. We'll stay the course. Okay, so full on. Ooh, yeah, totally. Totally opaque. Okay. Ooh, wait till that. Caroline or shadow green dries a bit. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Because I don't want to contaminate my colors. I'll just stay to this side. Okay. But it completely, look at this. Uh, okay. All right. That's Naples. Naples yellow, beautiful Naples yellow. So typically Naples yellow, this is um actually a little bit lighter than the Naples of Winsor Newton. I think Winsor Newton's just a tad bit orangier. But anyway, let's go to cadmium yellow deep. Cadmiums are the best colors, although they have been stifling them for obvious reasons. I'm pretty sure it's not the real cadmium anymore because powers that be said that they were detrimental to our environment, which I find just ridiculous myself, honestly, because um, artists, blaming it on artists too, right? Yeah, there's not enough artists in the world to contaminate um, our soil and everything by using cadmium paints. So the powers that be are going to use whatever excuse they can to vilify anything. That's good. Okay, so here we are. This is full on, right? I got it turned so that I can do this. So of course the cadmiums too are very opaque. That covers, of course, when we water it down, it becomes semi. Look at this cold press paper. Look at how beautiful this slides down. Isn't that beautiful? Paper, 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 paper makes such a difference. So I am all about that. In my previous videos, I talk about paper and all that too. I'm pretty sure But I mean, I do a lot of that in my classes too. And I've made an online presentation for my students so that they can revert back to it all the time. But as much as I say, if you can master the cellulose that you're working, because that's all you can afford, then go for it. I don't know that you can master it, but if you know how to move around it. And that's by playing with the paper. Thing with cellulose is I'm not sure that there's a guarantee of consistency with how each one is going to come out. Okay, so what we're going to do is Mars yellow. I'm excited about this. So Mars yellow, which I think might be an ochre. Actually, let me look at this. Need my magnifier. PY119. Oh no, I think it's an ochre. Would it be a, well, let's just see. It might be a raw sienna, right? Is a P119 a raw sienna? What was it? Oh, I need glasses. Yeah, PY119. Let's see if I can pull that up. Oh, a ferrite brown spinel. Wow. A zinc ferrite brown spinel, a reddish buff pigment that is opaque to visible light with moderate DIR reflections. Okay. This is exciting. Ooh, ooh. Now, this is a first for me. I've not ever read anything that exciting about a pigment. Seriously. I know it's funny, isn't it? However, it really does look like a raw sienna. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, see? It's, you were all excited, weren't you? You know, oh, geez, what's it going to look like? But it's really sort of just looks like a raw sienna. But it isn't. Coffee. Hmm. Yeah, it's got that milkiness to it. Okay, good job there. Let's see. Coffee. Tea. Oh, beautiful. That blended out beautifully on the it's got a little bit of a quinacridone gold feel. Mm. It's definitely opaque. See my watermark coming through? It's arches. Arches. Hey, there we go with the cellulose. Get what you pay for. Okay, so that's Mars yellow. And of course, ochre, yellow ochre, which is another favorite. This is an earth pigment. Love. Love the earth pigments. It's going to be much lighter, so it could have actually gone after the Mars sample, but that's all right. That's all right with me. Yeah, that's all right with me. Okay, so we're getting into the next row. So we'll start here. Cellulose, cold press, hot press. So you can see it is, if I put on full pigment here, wet, it is opaque. It is opaque. Huh, I didn't think it was. Oh, it was a semi. However, when we coffee that out, it does become semi-transparent. And we tea it out, it becomes completely transparent. So full on strength, full strength, it's big. So what do we class this as then? When it's teed out, do we call it transparent? Because most of the earth pigments are. What does it say here? Number 3, light fastness. See, that's the thing I like about Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton. And I know Schminke does too. They will actually tell you whether it is opaque, semi-opaque. You know, because we could, if we put any color on full strength, it can come out like a opaque or semi-opaque. So it's important to note, it's important to do this, but it's also important to note, you know, for your own referencing as to whether it's opaque or semi-opaque. Why? Why is that? Well, when you're creating a painting, you do not want to use an opaque that's going to be painted on top of a transparent. What is the purpose of that? You just wasted paint. The opaques have their own place. Now you could put a transparent over top of an opaque just to cool it down or cool it up or warm it down, that sort of thing. But by putting an opaque over top of a transparent is redundant. So it's very important to know the transparency of your paints. Okay. All right. So next are reds. Okay. So let's speed this up a little bit. You can always speed this up in the settings on your YouTube. You can just go to settings and then playback or play speed and just do it at 1.5 and you'll hear me go going all the way through it, but you can always slow it down on the parts that you want. So everything's choices, choices, choices. So right now we are going to be using a permanent magenta. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we'll do it. I'm going to leave a gap. I'm going to go to here. This is rough. And this is also very dark. I'm going to skip one here and do that same thing. So this is right out of the tube with a little bit of water. Beautiful. Of course, on the cold press, it just soaks in and just it's loving where it's going. So here, I'm going to do that on the cellulose. See, on the cellulose, let's see. It just puddles on top. Okay, so now I'm going to add some water to it. And I'm going to make that into a coffee consistency. Let's see here. It's just So in order for me to do this chart properly, I have to lift color from it. See that? I had to lift. So even just looking at this here in the camera and this one here, this looks much more red than it does here. But it is permanent magenta. In my view here, they are very consistent on, well, except for this one, right? That's the cellulose paper. This is also a staining color. I think this might be, there might be a phthalo blend in here. There we go. And our tea consistency. So now on the rough, doing that. There's our coffee. Beautiful. Beautiful. So it looks much more pinky, reddy than it does here in real life, as opposed to the camera. The camera's making it look more like a magenta, and that's obviously because the RGB, red, green, blue variations. And I say magenta is the true color, or whatever. I think it's kind of nonsense myself. All good though. So I did the same thing again with this. It should have been over here. Hmm. Using I'm confusing it and using the black lines as like a border. Okay, so the next one after that is the mineral violet. Okay, moving right along here. Okay, mineral violet. I think this is going to be another strong color. So this is, PV19? No, PV19, that's permanent rose. 15, PV15. Okay, let's get the water on that. Well, this is interesting. Handprint, one of my most favorite places to go. So handprint.com is a great site for getting the any information on watercolor pigments and the chemical properties of them and that sort of thing. Anyway, it's saying here that I'm going backwards here. Oh, this almost looks like dioxazine, but it won't be, because if it's dioxazine purple, it'll say it. It's a pigment on its own, but boy, that's a vibrant purple, that's for sure. This is great. See, now the cellulose, it's just like, it's almost like it's resisting, right? It's like hitting a resist. So when I tell students that, if you've got fingerprint marks on your paper and then you try to paint over it, a lot of times you'll get a little bit of that resistance. Soak up this here. Fortunately, that bled into my purple. Let's do it right here. Coffee to tea. I didn't put enough. Usually it's not enough. So I'm finding though that even though I put the full pigment down, there is a milkiness to it. Let me look at this again for a minute here. Where did it go? Mineral violet. Light fastness is only 2. Okay. So it may even be a fugitive now, classified as a fugitive, which means it will fade over time. Not, no, I think it has to be a 1 for it to do that. But that doesn't mean like, 10 years after maybe you paint a, or you purchase a picture that has this pigment in it, that the purple is going to disappear. No, it's typically rated under adverse conditions, if it's in, prime light, they'll test it in various things. But I do believe that this does fall into the aquamarine colors, because looking at it right here, but more importantly, looking at it from this one, I don't know if you can see it or not. Do you see there, you see the granulation on the surface? Yeah, that's ultramarine family, because there is an ultramarine rose. It's in the ultramarine family. Oh, I see it. Anyway, there's lots of beautiful granulation even going on the rough, because it's also sitting in the pockets, right? Okay. Rose violet is the next. Oh, squeezed out too much. This is a PR 122, I think. Yep, PR 122. We go. Ooh, this is giving me rose, permanent rose vibes. Look at that. Whoa. All right. I better put it over here now too. I'm just going to skip one only because they're bleeding. Okay, so that's the rough. And I can see, oh, I did it again, Patty. Stop it. Got myself all confused. Okay, so let's go coffee now. Mm. Look at that. So this is interesting. That's an interesting color. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about that. And I believe that was PR. What? Rose? Oh, magenta. What they do with it? I believe it's this one. No, not that one. These are the ones we have left. It was rose violet. Because it was a PR 122. And I think I was just reading something here the other day about that on Jane. Jane's either her website or a podcast she was doing. I think she was talking about that PR 122. But, and that was, what was that called? Rose Violet. This is cold pressed. Look at that. See how beautiful that tints out? Beautiful. So pretty. So PR 122 has the strongest violet hue of any violet red pigment available in watercolors. So there you have it, folks. And that's coming from handprint.com. So this has got the strongest violet hue. So if you're looking for a top-notch, top-of-the-line, vibrant violet red hue or color, red pigment, because this is a single pigment too. This is the one, PR 122, right? But I believe, you know what? Looking at this now, even though it says it's the most strongest violet, then I bet you it's a quinacridone in other colors. I'm not sure where quinacridone comes from, if it is based on a pigment or just like a synthetic recipe, you know, like a recipe that for all the quinacridones that they use something in all their colors. I don't know. But it's like a quinacridone rose or something. Or, well, I was going to say more like a magenta, right? And yeah, when you look at these, more like a magenta. I mean, obviously that is magenta, this one, this color. And this actually in the camera looks so red. So maybe that's the thing with the camera. It's going to pick up whatever hue is the brightest. But when you see this from in real life where I'm looking at it from, this is not as dark as it appears on here, but this is not near as bright as it appears on the camera. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful red violet. It's really quite lovely. And it does remind me exclusively of quinacridone magenta. So, because that's not a quin magenta at all. So see how when I just touched it, see there's a little puddle there now? Okay, so that was the rose violet. Let's do cad red orange. But where I want to do it here, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Because I do have more of these partitions than I have paint left. But this is going to be a very warm orangey red. Now I think that's more than one hue. Obviously it is, because to get the orange, right, it's red, yellow. Cadmium's all on its own. This is PR 108. There you have it. I'm gonna put PR 108 in my search box here. See what we come up with. So even though Holbein calls it cadmium red orange, and it's a single pigment watercolor. But we found cadmium red listed as the only known pigment in our database. Cadmium red, blah, 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 blah. Oh, handprint. Okay. Anyway, so let's not waste time on that. I got to get this done. I'm starting to get tired, but I never get tired of painting. It's just it's late. So I would not use this as a warm red. I would not. I would go with something more along the line of a Scarlet Lake. So this is on the cold press. And it should come up, yep, as an opaque. This is the cellulose. Yeah. Okay. See how it's separated there? Now I got quite a bit on this. How pretty that looks. Doesn't that look like a pretty little swatch out? But now as I'm getting along here though, I'm not quite able to. Let me move these out of the way so I can get within the camera here, all the colors I'm working on. All right. Okay. Just so my camera's nice and close to you. So let's do this. Here we go. Coffee. Tea. Yeah, it's a bit of a light tea. Must be a weak green tea. Or floor droppings, as Karen likes to call them. All right, so that did not see that transition. Okay, I played with it and lifted some pigment, and so see, you don't go back in and play with it, folks. On cellulose, you can't do it. So I'm gonna dab a do ya here. So here we go. This one's the rough. I can tell just by the look and the feel. Okay. Oop, and water tinted out. See, notice when I go back up, I'm not removing anything. I'm not lifting. Just bringing it down. There you go. How beautiful that is. Now, I'll get on top of this one. In that water. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And now we go. Beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Now it is really looking pretty bright on my camera. This is a high def, so maybe it's picking up some extra colors. It's got that extra cone. Now light red is probably one of my favorites. In many palettes or many manufacturers, light red is considered a PR 101. Let's have a look. Yes, PR 101. Now this is one of the most enigmatic colors out there because what PR 101 looks so different across the brands. And even in some brands, PR 101 is actually burnt sienna, which is crazy because burnt sienna is totally different. Mind you, saying now that being said, it will look like light red in some brands. So here we go. That's light red. Very earthy. It is an earth pigment. I believe it's an oxide too, but they won't tell you that on the label. No, I don't think it's an oxide. I think they tell you. But like I said, finding out that many or all oxides now are synthetic, I was bummed. I was really bummed because, but the upside is that PR 101 will look consistent across all the brands because they have to buy their pigment from somewhere, right? In order to make. There's a lot of grassroots businesses, small businesses now that are making and selling their own watercolors, which is fine. you can do it, but what they're doing is they're buggering everything up because they're not putting what the color is on the label, the light fastness and all of that. Sorry, I got out of screen there. And the problem with that is you don't know what pigments you're working with. You're just, they call it, you know, looking at the lighthouse orange or morning sun for, you know, a yellow. And that tells me nothing. I want to know the pigments. I want to know. And I want to know what's in it. I want to know what pigments they used. So if that doesn't bother you, you don't care, well, then you're fine with every paint that's on, you know, like paint palette or whatever on the market, which there are so many. Many of the pigments are diluted. They're really not that pretty. So yeah, I guess I'm going to be a little bit of a snob in stating that you get what you pay for. That's all I have to say. Now, if that is stopping you from painting, well, then by all means, use the student grade, the $3 palette, you know, that the elementary school uses. There, I mean, that's going to be just fine. If that's going to unleash your creativity in any way, shape, or form, that's what you should be doing. But if you're serious about watercolors and you're serious about color theory and you're serious about pigments, then be serious. I know I'm ranting on, aren't I? I am, but I believe that. I believe what I say in regards to that. Like, I am the person that I love to see people painting and creating. We don't have enough of it going on. Oops, I'm off the camera again. So as these are filling out, they're taking up space. Look at how beautiful this Scarlet Lake is. Isn't that a most beautiful? If you could see it, the way the color it really is, it's not translating. It's really bright there, but it is a beautiful, beautiful red. It's a beautiful, warm red. It actually reminds me a little bit of a Windsor red, actually. Scarlet Lake. Windsor Newton's Windsor red. But I think maybe Windsor red is classed as a warm. I buggered this up. Sorry, it must be getting late and I'm getting sloppy. But you can still see I did my coffee to tea. All right, I'll do it again. I'll patch it up. There we go. There's coffee. Got a puddle there. All right. Okay, cellulose. Here we go. Cellulose. So see how it really got animated quickly because it's not absorbing. It just sits on the surface and it just makes a puddle. It will absorb eventually, but it'll absorb in splotches. So so look at this. You see how any little water that was sitting there, let's see how the cellulose is dried. Like, it makes that whole thing look so cheap, right? I was painting fast and fairly wet and sloppy, but the good paper will behave as it should. And it'll make me look good. It'll make anything I do look good. Because it's the good paper. The consistency is there. And he says, so what if you've been painting since 1980? What's that make it? What's that make it? 2024 and 80. Is that 40 years? 44 years. Holy moly. Okay, so I started when I was 5. Oh, good. And I think that's done that for that. So that's the Scarlet. And I think that was the last of the reds. Yes, Scarlet Lake. And now it's just these blues that I picked up. Now I thought that I had three. Yeah, Royal. Oh no, I had Prussian, Peacock, and Manganese. And then the two extra colors were the neutral and indigo. So, ooh. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do them down here. And then I'll just pull the papers up. So manganese blue, which I think I've played with before. Oh my gosh, I love manganese. Manganese blue is kind of a milky blue, I think, if I recall. I don't use it all the time. I'm kind of got a big kick on cobalts. Cobalt can be made into, can be a cool or a warm color, but manganese, what is this? Is it just straight up manganese? Because sometimes that, oh, that's not it. Where is it? There it is. I tossed them to the side after I'm done. Oh, I must have. Ah, all right. I think manganese itself isn't really a PB anything. They just call it straight up manganese. Right? Yeah, there it is. There's a azul manganiso. So it's the language there. But, oh, wait a minute. I think there is a PB and it got scraped off. It's a number 2 for light fastness. So, it's not the highest rated. So you can see it's fairly lightweight. You know, it's not a heavyweight blue, but it's a beautiful light blue. Okay, so this will be this one's so rough. Oh, Patty, look what I did. Can't see it off camera. Look. Yeah. I don't know where I'm getting that from. I contaminated my paper. It'll be dry by the time I get there. So what I'm going to do here is I'll start there because that's in line with that one. I'll do it here. This is rough. And this one, we'll do it here. So it's cream. So it is a lightweight, as you can see. It's not a strong blue. I've got this tilted too, and I got got a hair on there too. But it's transitioning beautifully. I like that. Right, I'll put this just to the side for now so we can see. So this is cellulose. All right, get some water. All right, this is the blue. Coffee. And let's drag it to tint it out. Okay, not the best. Okay, and this is the rough. This was cold press. This is rough. Get the excess off and tint that right out. Right? Yeah. Right. There we go. See that coffee right into tea. This one. Wow, this one not so good. Didn't tint out very well. Okay, so now we've got the manganese done. Next, we'll go with peacock. It's the next brightest. Remember what I said about peacock? That's the viridian and phthalo. Which they're both phthalos. So this will be ultra cool. Ultra cool color. Read something about phthalos not too long ago, which I don't think it was that important or that worrying because it would have retained with me. There was something about the phthalos. There was something about them. Anyway, I'll see if I can recollect it. But look at the vibrancy. Okay, super vibrant. There's the Arches cold press here. So this is straight out of the tube. That's why you see how it went on a little dry. I didn't have much water on that. That's pretty much butter consistency. Now we're into the heavy cream. All right. Give it a go here. Peacock blue. Look how strong that is. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so now, oops. That could have been a problem. That could have been what happened at the top here where those little splotches end up. That could have been after spill. Because when I put my brush into the water, typically I'm very messy about it. So, and I dab off and it'll spray everywhere. So that really could have been me and not the paper. So I have to apologize to the paper for that. I'm so sorry. But you can see though in the middle colors though that they are not very consistent. Look at this. See, why doesn't it just flow like that? If it was good paper, it should have just flowed just like this. It was so easy to wet out and bring it down. So that's a staining as well. Why do I know that? Because phthalos typically are staining. The phthalos, one thing about the phthalos are their beautiful transparency. And maybe that's what I've always known them to be transparent colors anyway, but maybe they were just reinforcing it. I don't know. But they are. Okay, so there we go. We're getting down to the wire, kids. So now we're going to have the royal blue. I will keep the cold and the rough for my files. I'm not going to keep the cellulose. Excuse me, I'm just doing that for your benefit so that you can see. So, all right. So this almost looks like, what was the royal blue? I think it was royal blue. Come on now. Peacock. All right. So as I see this wetted out, because you can't really tell when you open up a tube, you can't really tell, right? Look, it looks like brown or it looks like a dark blue. But until you wet it out, let's show you the palette here, right? Until you wet it out, does that not look familiar? I know it's not going to be a PB29 as in ultramarine. However, it royal blue. So it's kind of close. It reminds me very much of the ultramarine blue. And it's a PB60 though, so it's a single pigment all its own. Never heard of it before. So I'm going to have to do a little investigation. So here we are. This is on the rough. Oh, beautiful, deep, rich blue. I did it again. I did it there too. What am I doing there? I'm keep thinking that it's part of the line. I did it, started it there. There you go. Transition. Coffee. Tea. Right. There's that one. This is the cold press. Yeah, I did that again there. I'm going to go here. I'm all over the place now because I screwed up by going in between the lines. Oh, should have made boxes instead. That probably would have been easier to follow, like I usually do. Make like a box. Now it makes a difference too with your brush and how much water your brush can hold. Okay. Gorgeous. How nice that transitioned out. Really pretty blue. So royal blue, royal blue, royal blue. So let's do this. We'll go over the line. I should have done with all the rest. So we could see the transparency. Really, it's just for your benefit. I usually have that already mapped out. And typically, if you can see, well, so that's kind of a helper in a way. Yeah, see, that's just sitting up in puddles. You can see that, eh? See how it just sits? I'm gonna lift that out so I can get that nice transition. Yeah, close enough. And then finally, my Prussian blue. Prussian blue is one of my ultimate favorites. I love Prussian blue. I think I squeezed that earlier, and then of course it's pressure. As soon as you open the lid, the pressure of it all squeezes out. So this should be a a PB 27. 29 is ultramarine, and Antwerp blue, Prussian blue, and another blue are all PB 27, I think. Yes, they are. So absolutely. And 28 is manganese. I think PB 28 is manganese. Let's look up. Because 27 is Prussian, 28 is manganese, and 29 is ultramarine blue. Let's see, PB 28, see what that comes up as. Cobalt, maybe. It might be cobalt. Cobalt should be, is cobalt. All right. PB pigment, 28 pigment. I better put down because I'm getting all kinds of weird stuff up here. Yeah. Ooh. Yes, it's cobalt. Should have known that because I use cobalt more than I do um, manganese. Okay, so I should know that. 27, 28, and 29 are my three most used. And of course, I still use the PB 15-3, I believe is phthalo blue. Okay, so here we go. Oh, let's go back here. See, I almost did it again. Mimicking. But look at how pretty this is. So this is a blue-red. It is considered a warm blue. Cellulose. And you will get some camps that call it a cool blue. I don't know why that is. Why they would even see that. Because you can even look at it. You can see that you know, I don't know if it looks like it from your view, but from mine, definitely. Hey, this royal blue, that's that's a granulating color too. The manganese is as well, though. I knew that. I should have mentioned it. Okay, so let's do this. This is Prussian. See how gorgeous that is? So pretty. Oh, Prussian blue. I don't know where it got its name from, but it sure is a pretty blue. Okay, so let's make sure I got all of that cleaned out and we do our transition. Righto, righto. Oop, gotta get the excess water off. Okay, no, we don't want to make that into a puddle. There we go. There's that transition. Barricaded wash. By all means, please engage and let me know if you enjoy geeking out with me here in my quirky little world. I should just retitle this Watercolor Geek. And you know what? I'm gonna do some paint alongs too. I will do some paintings. I don't have see the puddle? Now I will not be doing these. If maybe I do swatch outs like tonight, in the future, I might still do the three papers. I'll do some smaller and do, the three. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. I do have a lot of watercolor paper. I've been trying out some new. So this is the neutral tint, some new styles, but I'm not very impressed. Like I said, you either are serious about, the way you go about the way you paint, and you're not. Just to have fun. There's nothing wrong with that. Then, get whatever it is you can afford and play away. But if you're serious about creating high quality paintings and things like that that you may want to sell. So this is, whoa. What? Is this the neutral? I thought I did neutral first. I think this might be, I shouldn't have been so hasty and chitty chatty. I believe this might be the neutral. I've got the neutral and the indigo that I wanted to play with here. Now, what did I do with it? Yeah, so is this indigo? This should be a couple of colors. Indigo. Yeah, so PB27, which is, oh, well, there you go. So it's Prussian blue. Isn't that something? Their indigo is Prussian blue and PBK7, which oh, I got a mushroom. So so there's indigo and neutral that I'm doing, and I squeeze them both out on the mix here. And sorry. So this PBK7 is opaque, but I believe it's called lamp black because it's actually made with soot. So this is indigo. And I immediately picked up on it. Why? Because as soon as I added water to it, see here, as soon as I added water to it, you see I can see even through the camera, you can see the blue, the PB27, which is right beside it. and black. So that's actually what has made this indigo. Now you can go to a Daniel Smith. I'll see if I can pull one up. An indigo in my Daniel Smith, and I know I've got an indigo in. Yeah, see, it's not very well organized. What I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to color code and mix them all together. But the only reason why I put them in separate bags this time was because so I could do my new swatches and not duplicate the swatches out. I guess it doesn't matter if I do them all over brand new again. It won't matter. So obviously this is a opaque pigment, right? And then when I water that out, bring it down, it's my coffee. And there's my tea. There we go. Beautiful. You can definitely see the blue in there. Lots of blue going on. Okay. Yeah. Gorgeous. And now the neutral tint, the very last. Neutral tint, I believe, is it's just all blacks. Let's have a look again. Oh, BR23, PB29, which is ultramarine blue, PBK 6, which I believe is Mars black, 7 is lamp black, PR23. I don't know what PR23. Obviously, it's a red pigment, but I think the 6 is Mars black. The PBK. Anyway, let me get this neutral in here first. This is typically neutral is, I don't look at it as a cool or a warm, but in the color charts, it is seen as a cool undertone, probably because of the bluish. So that would be the same as the indigo. So let me get the neutral in here. Look at how, so when I look at this one here, I can definitely see the red blue undertone. So there's no way that they can call this a cool undertone when I can definitely see the red and the blue undertones in this. I totally can. I don't know if you can see it with the camera here. Let me look at the camera. Yeah, see, it just looks black in there. In this one. A little bit purpley, but the purpley comes from the red, right? Red, blue. All right, here we go. Wet that down. Indigo got hot in there. Let's do this on this side then. Good job. And I know I'm rushing through this a little bit now because I'm at the end. And I shouldn't really do that. And it's only because I decided to do this late. And now it's really late. It's like 2 in the morning, I think. But that's early for me. I'm a bit of a night owl. However, I do want to try and change that around. Okay, so you can see these two. And then the last is the cellulose. You see how it plays on the surface and it doesn't really bond with the paper? See if I sit and play and manipulate a little, then I can get it to behave a little bit. but yeah, see. Yeah. So I managed to get the 3 out of that one, but that's neutral. So there you have it. We geeked out. It's probably been a couple hours. Hopefully it's not too long. And you hang out and play and grab your own pigments and stuff and play with them. But these are the brand new. So I got 26 new Holbein colors that I tried. Well, there's duplicates, obviously, but 26 tubes I just purchased. And then there we have the swatch outs of them. So nice and colorful, but obviously cellulose and arches, rough and arches, full press. Why did that all of a sudden get out of the, I think because I had it this way in the beginning. So there we are, folks. So there's the blue, the reds, the yellow, the greens, blue, red, yellow, green. So thanks for hanging out with me. Really appreciate it.